Welcome, everybody, to Dead Talk Live. And tonight we are joined by directors and writers Jamison, LoCascio, and Adam Ambrosio. Guys, welcome to the show. How are you both doing tonight?
Great. Very excited to be joining you.
Yes, thanks for having us.
I'm excited for you guys to be here. The movie, guys, is called How Dark They Pray. It is available now on Amazon Prime Video. It's a must watch. We're going to break it down tonight. So let's just go ahead and get right into this. And let's start with Jamison. Now, How Dark They Pray, for people just hearing about this, is a anthology film made up of four short stories. Sorry. In making an anthology film, you need to find a way to sort of bring it all together in the form of an epilogue, prologue, to sort of neatly tie it off. When you guys came up with some very interesting prologues and epilogues for this film, how did that thought process come to life?
Yeah, it's a great question. So basically, we were seeing some anthologies, and the pandemic had happened, and our last horror film, No Fear, had done quite well. So we were sort of looking at some other stories that we could tell. We're big fans of Lovecraft, and we were sort of trying to put together a number of different things. Adam sort of came to the table with the Blood Beach concept, and the war story was a concept he had from years ago. So then I kind of came to the table with the other two. And that's really how it happened. We started gelling them and then making them one cohesive story, basically, sort of with similar themes, we could say.
Absolutely. Now, Adam, you both directed, you both wrote, each one directed their own shorts and so on. We'll get to that in a little bit. But how did the writing process go? Was it both of you involved in writing each story, or did one have a particular story and the other person had another story?
Um, yeah, for about three of them, we predominantly wrote together. Nellie, the last one you see, was very dear to Jameson, and so it was really, it was his baby, and I felt with just maybe just a little just little things that I could say here and there, but predominantly Nelly was, Jameson's, and I didn't want to touch it because he was so enthused by it, and I was like, what, don't fix what's not broken, and that's what we wanted to do. But two of them, Harrowing and Blood Beach, we wrote a while ago,
Mm-hmm.
and originally they were going to be for a full feature, and we wanted to do that as part of our catalog down the line. But then we, as Jameson said, we got into anthologies, and we kind of rewrote Harrowing and Blood Beach to something a little bit more condensed.
Like
And
a short story.
yeah, and we started with that, and then what is it? The intro and Encounter Nightly was probably the most recent ones. Those were the ones that we kind of said, okay, how could we, write those in?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
those were the
Right,
most
exactly.
newest ones.
Now, Jameson, just like I was telling you before we got started with this stream, Harrowing, the World War II one, for me was the most mind-bending short out of all of them. They were all great, but that was the one that really left you questioning afterwards. Like I said, it takes place during World War II. First off, what was the inspiration for that story?
Yeah, well, what's great about that one is it's nice when this happens, but really that was Adam's idea. And it was, we had been designing it for a number of years, trying to make that work. And I think really just once we had Blood Beach, he came to the table and talked about, oh, what if we do it in World War II, that concept. And then it started to transform into, wow, this could really be a great thing. We can think about it in a, some sort of type of Carpenter way, but also try to find our own spin on it. And then he brought in the concept of the Nazi and everything else. And it seemed like an excellent place to
Mm-hmm.
discuss kind of everything that we wanted to put into a movie. It is a little controversial. It's a little it's challenging,
Yeah.
and I thought that was so great, and I just wanted to do that justice as a director off of his idea. I don't know if you want to also.
No, yeah, and I think Jameson was also working on another project at the time, Normandy.
Yeah.
And I think that was about World War II, And I think we were kind of in that headset. I think
Yeah.
James was watching a lot of World War II. He was recommending some movies to me as well. So I think subconsciously it kind of came into that with, other elements. And so it was just, it was like a what if, like, if everything in beliefs, religion, or whatever is true, and that you believe do no harm and all that stuff, doesn't that include for everything? And how would that look to something that I would say as Americans we support our soldiers, and they pay the ultimate price.
And
And
war it just messes everybody up. And I mean, we don't want to give away any spoilers, but Adam, I'm going to ask you this question. When it came to the story Harrowing, I left with my own interpretation of what was actually going on. And I'm sure a lot of viewers are going to walk away with their interpretation of what was actually happening in that scenario. Was that your intention when you were writing this story? Leave it up to the viewers to come up with their own interpretation?
I think so. I think just like if you believe in your convictions and you have your beliefs, um, you have to leave it up to what the individual believes, and I think that's the important message of it is what do you take away from it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of dark elements, and I think inner searching that people could find through it because it involves the human condition, and that's something I don't think anybody is. We're nowhere capable of understanding,
Yeah.
really, physically, emotionally, spiritually. So I think it's just a little nod to say, hey, that that conversation can happen, and it should happen. And I think more people should be having that.
And more importantly, we cannot put ourselves in the position of anybody who's faced combat, and especially in World War II, and just the terrible conditions that these men had to go through every day and night. Jamison, if any of these stories would make a great full feature film, if I had to pick one, I would go with Blood Beach. Do you agree or disagree with that?
That's an interesting point. And, I think we've talked about this a bit, just in terms of like, which things lend themselves to. I mean, there's so much to mind with Lovecraft. And that was something that Adam also really introduced me to, because I was not really a horror person until he introduced me, which is our whole crazy story behind No Fear. So Lovecraft is something I went out and read a lot of off of his suggestion. There's a lot to it, but it's also difficult because it so much relies on the imagination.
Mm-hmm.
So the more that you sort of flesh it out and put it in front of people, you start to sort of lose that magic a little bit. It would be an interesting challenge to try to see if you could make that as a full length and still keep that sense of wonder.
Yeah.
And so that's it's an interesting point, and it would also just be a big challenge too.
Absolutely. Now, Adam, the first story, like you mentioned, is Encounter Nightly, where that's the one that you directed. You guys introduce us to the character Trent UFO. He has a show highlighting people's UFO experiences, encounters, but he's not a real believer in the whole UFO phenomena. Is Trent UFO meant to convey the average YouTuber who's just trying to find anything that will resonate with a crowd? Was that what you were trying to get at with the character of Trent UFO?
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of characters like that, and I think subconsciously it was that saying be careful what you wish for. I think that was a lesson in that one. Is just be careful what you wish for, because you get it, you might not like it, and and it's about the skepticism of paranormal and UFOs, all that activity that people choose to deny and believe to great extents. And it's just they were all there to kind of just get you thinking about these things again.
Absolutely.
It's almost like you're almost painted as like, okay, this guy's weird if they conspiracy theories here and there and all that stuff. So, but just kind of putting entertainment into it, and also just both sides of the coins, the ones who do believe and the ones who don't, and how they conflict with each other. I think that was pretty much the message with Encounter Nightly. Was just there are the skeptics and there are the ones who do believe.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Jameson, there was a very interesting conversation between the two main characters in Encounters Nightly, where they're sitting at the back of the pickup truck, and Trent UFO says he sort of hints that he would really love to have a real experience. Um, when you guys were fleshing out this character in that conversation, was he being sincere that he wants to do something that is real and that he can actually believe?
Yeah, I think so. What you're trying to aim for in these concepts, and it's something that you would want as a viewer, is that there is something, you know, tangible about this guy. There is something that you could reach out and touch. He's not just a jerk, and he
Yeah,
doesn't just care about his job, and he isn't just doing it for the views. In some ways, he does want to feel like he has some sort of meaning, some sort of part of something, and he's so beyond the point of maybe even caring anymore that he's just hoping something will bring him back. So yeah, it's sincere. He really wants to try to find, or at least that's the way that Jeff Ronan had played it, and that Adam had the discussion with, was, this is the part of him that you could reach out and touch as a character. He does actually care about that.
yeah.
Uh, and Pilata's character is really, in so many ways, even though he's more serious about the job, he's also just taking everything so lightly and
Yeah.
doesn't care that much. So in a lot of ways, they're kind of reversing roles
Yeah,
constantly.
he's sort of telling Trent, "What are you complaining about? We've got an audience, just stop
That's right.
stop questioning it."
That's right.
Adam, when you guys did this anthology film, at the end of it, how did you feel? Is making an anthology more challenging, less challenging than a full feature film? What were your overall thoughts?
Uh, by the end of it, I was expecting for something to happen. Something bad to happen, like a shoe falling somewhere. Because the way we scheduled this production was, it looked good on paper, and the only thing is, well, it looks good on paper. Let's see how it goes, and everything went well. The only thing that didn't, that kind of hampered us a little bit was just, a rainstorm here and there.
Yeah.
That was it. The way we scheduled it was great. We really took time to develop everything. We What we did was we shot each one in about a month. So we would shoot Encounter Nightly 1 month, wait about a couple of weeks, maybe another month, then go out and shoot Harrowing, then the next one, then the next one. And we did it that way. We just really, gave ourselves time to really prep and to, pre-produce and produce everything that we needed to do, because we were only a three-person crew, really. Jameson, myself, and our good friend Nicole Rakowski. It was just us three and the actors who did a great job. So really scheduling it to that,
Well,
Yeah.
that just goes to show everyone, I've heard so many directors talk about prep, and it just goes to show that the time you took for preparation allowed for the shooting to go relatively smoothly. So great job on that. Now let's talk about Nellie, Jameson. That's the one that you directed. First off, Nellie is the only one out of the four that is given to us in black and white. Um, why was it important for Nellie to be in black and white, or it wasn't important? You guys wanted to show us one in black and white and pick Nellie out of a hat.
Yeah, no, Nelly was very important to be in black and white, because it goes a little bit even beyond Psycho, which is really ultimately where the concept comes from, and it's a spin on those elements. But the entire approach that we were thinking about with Nelly was, the mentality of these movies in the '60s and back.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if you bring a modern mentality into it? It doesn't mean the characters are more equipped or less, but the mentality of how we approach things that are scary is so different. I mean, we're so jaded by certain things, and Dole's character is sort of stuck in that time period, whereas the Janet character is a little bit more modern, which
Mm-hmm.
is actually really the way that Janet Leigh was. I mean, in Psycho. So
Yeah.
that was kind of a play on that. So it's just this idea of, can we look at that form still and see the value in it? I think so. And there is something beautiful about the way those movies were shot and the way they were done, in some ways so innocently. But then you're taking that further with Hitchcock. His design and his craft was so ahead of its time
Yes.
that when you put somebody in a modern context, it works. I think still. So it was just that idea of mixing, the past and the present, and the characters even feeling that way, and the shooting feeling that way. And also we looked and we're trying to, bring the vibe of Evil Dead 2, into it as well, which was, can we do something fun that also is crazy but is respectful of, these different worlds, of something that's funny but also is an homage to Psycho and to Hitchcock.
And exactly, and that really takes me to the next question. There are a lot of Easter egg references to past films, current television shows and films throughout Nelly. Was that all in the script, or was some of it added, some of the props added? I'm not going to give away which ones, but some of the props added during shooting. How did that all come about?
Yeah, well, everything was scripted on that one. We definitely are big believers in trying to stick to a script, even though we like to give the actors a looseness. We like to keep that within the confines of a script. And I mean, one of my favorite lines in the movie, Adam came up with later, which was about the reference to another story.
Yeah.
And it just had me dying laughing. So that was one of the best. And also my father was involved with Nelly, which is a weird thing that doesn't normally happen. But he said, I think this could be an interesting idea. And I was like, Dad, that's the plot to Psycho. But there was something about it that was really interesting. And I'm like, wait a second, I think I see what he's saying. But we have that type of shorthand. And actually, the truth about Nelly is I wasn't sure if it really made sense. And I got to give, to put it into this. And I got to give a lot of credit to Adam, because if Adam didn't like it and find it funny, I mean, I wouldn't have tried to force everyone's hand to put it in.
Well, that's the thing about Nelly. I think if those who really get it for what it's supposed to be, it is really enjoyable. I really enjoyed it. And, Adam, I mean, what are your thoughts on how Nelly turned out? Are you happy with it?
I'm very happy, and that's why I didn't want to touch it, with like making changes or whatever, because there were, as Jameson said, the inspiration of Evil Dead and Psycho. I mean, those were pretty much the two movies I think he started getting into horror.
Yeah.
Halloween as well, Carpenter. But and to see that transform over the years, his love for horror, and then you read Nelly, and you see all the inspiration. It's like, all right, this is what inspired him. It cumulatively fell in and made a soup, and then it came out with Nelly. This is what his admiration of horror movies is, his influence. Yeah. And it wouldn't have been right for me to put my ingredients into the pot, because it tastes good the way it is.
Exactly. Don't touch it if it's not broke.
Exactly. And we're firm believers in that statement.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Jamison, we're almost out of time, but I want to ask you this last question. Anthology films leave fans usually debating after they watch it with their friends, family, which short story they enjoyed the most. Is that something that you want to encourage, that people like, hey, I like this one, that's my favorite, that's my second favorite? Is that a debate that you want to have started?
Yeah, I think it's natural. It's only natural. It's like having your favorite flavor of ice cream or something. I think the reason why you do something like this is because you have an appreciation for all the different stories and all the different flavors. Like I feel the one I feel is really the audience pleaser in a lot of ways is Encounter Nightly. I think it has all the ingredients of something great. And I love that it was his film and it was found footage, which is something I didn't think I was capable of. And I asked him to direct it. And he has such a love for them. I think that passion comes across. And even though it's his first directing, thing, he does a great job with it. So I love Encounter Nightly. So I almost always highlight that as being like, okay, that's an audience pleaser to me. And I think it's so much fun. So yeah, I think people are going to do that, and I think that's healthy. I think
And
that's healthy.
about Encounters Nightly that really makes it good is how the UFO element is brought into the horror realm. We're not going to
Yes,
spoil it and say how, but that was very well done.
thank you.
Now, I want to give you guys credit because beyond writing and directing, Jamison, you edited. Adam, you did the score for the
Mhm.
film. So you guys really did wear the majority of all the hats besides the. And Adam, you had a cameo, but weren't you listed?
Yeah, yeah,
You were in one of them.
yeah. We have a little thing in our, other features is that you would either find me sitting at a bar somewhere
Yeah,
or behind the bar somewhere.
totally
Uh,
Stephen King like.
Yeah,
yeah,
he's our Hitchcock. Really,
Yeah.
would have been there walking past.
yeah. So yeah, but we did everything, ourselves, just three-man crew,
Yeah, I
two
mean,
guys and a woman.
I was the cinematographer, and then these guys did everything else. I mean, virtually. If I was holding the camera, Adam was doing the sound with Nicole Rakowski, who did a great job on all
Great
the
job.
movies.
She did
I
great.
mean, she deserves a lot of credit and shout out to her because she really did these movies in a way that was so fast, and you didn't have much time to think.
No.
So I mean, yeah, and then Adam comes in with an incredible score every single time, and he's very Carpenter-like in that way that he
Hmm.
brings something to the table that I know nothing about, and then it's wow, there's the movie,
You
So it's so great to have that.
you don't find a lot
Mm.
of directors, writers that can also do music as well. So that's not very
Yeah.
common. You guys
Yeah,
did a brilliant job with the
thank you.
small crew. You put together four great short stories. The movie, guys, is called How Dark They Pray. It is available now on Amazon Prime Video. When I got the release for it, it had a date of September 15th. Is it being released elsewhere on September 15th besides Amazon?
Yeah, it's also going to be on Watch Movies Now, which is
Okay.
a free platform you can watch on YouTube, and it just has ads on it. So if you want to, people can go there and watch it first day. And it's going to be releasing on other platforms very soon via Film Hub. So those will be letting people know on our channel, Film Valor, on YouTube. We'll let people know there.
One of the joys of what I do is I love talking to independent filmmakers. I enjoy talking to the big studio people as well. And then, but just seeing, I don't want to say the word contrast, but the different elements that go into studio, which has its own work and so on, and independent filmmaking. I love that I get to speak to such a wide spectrum of people, and hearing your guys' story tonight was truly inspiring. So again, hats off. You guys did a great job. Our audience, please check out the movie. It's available now on Amazon Prime Video. It's coming out everywhere else soon. It's called How Dark They Play, written, directed by Jamison and Adam. Adam also edited. Jamison edited. Adam did the score. These guys wore all the hats. Check it out. Adam, I'll leave the final word up to you. Do you have any final thoughts you want to share before we go?
No, thank you guys for having us. It's a pleasure to be here, and we're excited for this movie.
Absolutely, you should be. Thank you guys again. I want to thank our audience, those who are watching live and those who will tune in later on. On behalf of Jamison, Adam, and myself, stay safe and stay walking. Good night, everybody.